friends. Oh my gosh, that was so hey friends, welcome back to another Renee's Corner video. I feel like I've worn this shirt like in another video, but not in a long time, so I'm really excited to be wearing this shirt. It's like, you know, it's kind of cute. Hair's not done, but so today we're going to be talking about internship essays. I know that like by the time this video goes up, like you probably will be done with them, and so I'm hoping that this will be like evergreen content so that like next year when people are applying to internship, they have a resource. I don't know how helpful this resource will be for people who are applying to internship this fall, so caveat there. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was just like how like my process of writing my essays, and sort of like I can give you a timeline of where I was at each month once like I started with really paying attention to internship stuff. Well, paying attention to internship essays, I can tell you like sort of the timeline of how I wrote them. So the timeline of when I wrote them, let's just start there and then I'll just talk about the steps. So I feel like I started in like mid-July, but I didn't really like really start until like I want to say late July, early August, and I wrote them, and then I had people review them through the month of August and September, and then by October I wasn't really messing with my essays anymore. Like I was done. I was kind of like, okay, these are good to go, and then once October hit, I was really focused on the cover letters, which I'll probably do another video on how I did those. So okay, so step one of what I did was in July, I spent some time just reviewing the prompts, reviewing other people's materials, and like getting a good sense and a good grasp of the questions, because I feel like the questions were vague to me. And so like, I was like, I don't really know what they're asking. And so I reviewed the prompts, and then I sort of made an outline of like what I wanted to hit in the essay. Not so much like my own experiences, but more so like what the question's asking me to like talk about. Actually, hang on, let me get the book. Okay, so this is the book I use. This has been passed down in my lab. I'm actually going to give it back to the lab. But basically, in this book, they have like you write down your goals for internship, and so I think this is kind of the first place. These aren't my notes, these are Jasmine's notes, so hopefully she doesn't mind. But beyond that, we'll skip over that. So okay, so in the book they have like the prompts in there. So it's like autobiography, write an autobiographical statement, answer this questions as if someone asked you, tell me about yourself. And so this is an opportunity for you to tell sort of your life story and, you know, decide what you want to tell the internship part. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, so what I did was I sort of made like a outline of like what the question, like what I thought the question was asking. And then what I did was I wrote answers to like those questions. So like for the autobiographical part, I wanted to talk about like my upbringing. I wanted to talk about like my education at Hampton. I wanted to talk about how I got to SLU, how I got to clinical psychology in general. And I really wanted to like sort of like tell this story of like how I got to this point of applying to internship. You'll notice that this is the same method that I did for my applications for graduate school. I think when you tell a story, like the way that you do that is very important. And so blah, blah, blah. I wrote out answers and loose ideas to answer the prompts. And so how I did this was I thought about all the experiences that I had that aligned with that question. So there's a diversity question. So I thought about like seeing a case that a person, seeing a clinical case of a person who like had more diverse presentation, like gender nonconforming, racial minority, or racially underrepresented, or racially marginalized communities, and like what diversity means to me and like how I got there. And so you really want to think about the experiences that you've had in graduate school and like how those fit within the essays, right? And so there's a research essay, there's a diversity essay, there's the autobiographical essay, and then there's your theoretical orientation. I found the theoretical orientation the hardest just because like I don't necessarily subscribe to any theoretical orientation. I try to do what, I mean, like I use evidence-based practices, but I'm not like a manualized girl. Anyways, we're getting off topic. So think about the experiences that you've had in graduate school or even before graduate school that sort of line up with these essays. So like my diversity statement, I think I talked about being a military kid, talked about like how I often seek out diverse experiences. I'm always trying to learn more. I also talked about going to Hampton a little bit. I talked about seeing a diverse client and how I came to like conceptualize them and all of those things. So that's what you do. So after that, so we're on step 4, I know, right? So then what I would say is review the book, the APAGS book. Is this an APAGS book? Yeah, APAGS books. Review this and review sample essays. So I'm one of those people who like, I like to write what I'm gonna write first, and then I'll go and look at other people's materials. And then if there's something like a theme that they wrote about, like say they talked about their practicum experiences and I didn't talk about any of my practicum experiences in my essay, I would then go back and add more to my essay. I think it's really helpful to like view successful applications. That's just me. I know for some people it's really intimidating, but I like to see what other people are doing, and like it helps inform my decisions on how I want to write my essays. I think something else, well, this is something we can talk about when we edit. So step 5 is write. You're just gonna have to write. What I did was I wrote as much as possible and then I cut down. You wanna avoid like regurgitating your CV. They see it, they've already seen it, they've seen your experiences. So you don't need your essays to like recite what's on your CV. What you really need your essays to do is feel like you. You need it to tell who you are. Like, if I didn't know you and I read about your essays, I want to get a really good sense of who you are as a clinician, as a person, as a researcher, all of those things. So you want to make sure that it's not like stale, but you also don't want to make it like too personal too. Like psychology is so crazy about that. They're like, make it personal but not too personal. So you want to make sure that you're finding some middle ground of like being who you are and who you are as a professional, while also linking that to the experiences that you've had that made you who you are as a professional, if that makes sense. So then once you're done doing that, you really want to edit and cut. I feel like for me, it's easier to cut than to add more. Like if I have finished an essay and I don't have any more to say, like it's so hard for me to get to the word count. Also, the word count is like 500 words per essay. That could totally be wrong. I could totally be lying. Hang on. I think it's like 500 words, so. Yeah, okay, so I just looked it up. Each essay is 500 words. So it's really hard to write all of the experiences that are important and get everything that you want to get, everything that you want to tell the like application committee in 500 words. And so for me, it was easier to write as much as possible and then cut in a way that still tells the story. Like still, like you still get the like gist of how I got to this point. And then for me, yeah, like I said, it's easier to cut. And then step 7 is have people review it. I had my letter writers review it, so all 3 of them reviewed it. I had my mom review it for like grammatical stuff. And like I think the thing is, like, you want people who review it who are not going to like change who you are. And so for me, it's really important for my story. This the red panda like over my shoulder is hilarious to me. You really want to still tell your story, and you want to tell the story in a way that feels authentic. And so for me, you know, I'm not super overly attached to my writing. So like if there's something that could be more clear or more concise, or like if I'm running up against the word limit and I'm struggling to get to the word limit, or I'm struggling to get below the word limit, like have people review it for that. And I think it's helpful to have your letter writers review the essays so that they know what to write about in your letters. So yeah, that's basically how I did it. Wow, 10 minutes, we're doing great. We're not even at 10 minutes, woohoo. Okay, so that's how I wrote my internship essays. I hope this helped. I haven't seen that many videos about internship or postdoc, so I'm planning on writing about those I'm planning on recording about those experiences so that, you know, people will have the resource and have the things that I wish I knew going into internship or going into applying to internship. There's a whole slew of things I wish I knew going into internship, but that'll be another video for another time. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you watched this far, leave an animal emoji like my little red panda. And I love you all so much. Thank you all for bearing with me, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.